So you don't think that power has been an issue, the FR9 engine? Has that been a bit of more struggle than you and Ford anticipated?
No, the FR9 engine has been wonderful. You know, we haven't broken an FR9 engine part. We've got marginally better performance out of the engine than the 452 spec engine that preceded it, and it's all encouraging. You know, we hadn't had a new engine for several decades, and Ford took the time to make sure they had it right. Doug Yates and the guys up at the engine shop have spent the time to make sure that they had their part of it right. We've had to qualify many new vendors for castings and for various internal components. We had to qualify the vendors, had to go through the prototype parts, work our way into the production series of parts, which we've now done. We'll have we had 4 cars with the engines at Pocono. They performed well. We had all four cars at Talladega with the engines. They performed well, and the Wood Brothers have run the engine, I think, every time that they've raced this year, which has not been on a limited schedule. So the engine is without a flaw. It makes marginally more power. It has a very efficient cooling system, has a very efficient combustion process. It will get marginally better fuel economy, is more tolerant of trash on the grill, and is more stable in its valve train. There's certainly nothing about the FR9 engine that has slowed us down this year in terms of our ability to win a race or to be competitive. We've had maybe not our share, but close to our share of top 10 finishes, and you know, we've got 3 cars in the chase out of my 4, so it has not been a bad year. We haven't won yet. That's the thing that we lack is actually winning that first race. I think that as we continue to make our simulations better, as we continue to take more responsibility for the data analysis that goes with that internally, I think that we will gradually see the state at which the cars arrive at the racetrack be improved, and we'll have less stressful weekends, race event weekends, as the year unfolds.
Thanks.
Our next question comes from Mike Brudenell of Detroit Free Press. Sir, you may ask a question.
Yeah, thanks, Ed. You asked my technical questions, but to you, Jack, Felix Sabates will be at Michigan this weekend. He had some unsavory things to say about Detroit and the MIS races, but getting to the point, do you think MIS does deserve the 2 races a year, and your opinion on the Motor City?
Well, Detroit is on a rebound. You know, the Ford is certainly has turned the corner and didn't have to go into bankruptcy, and has been able to stand on their own 2 feet and negotiate without a government hammer with the UAW for their labor costs and things. Ford has done just a great job. General Motors has got sales that are on the improvement, and Chrysler is doing remarkably well in the marketplace. So I think that all 3 of the typical Detroit-based car companies are doing as well as they might, given the circumstance. The production lines are building more cars and trucks than a year ago, and there's more employment. And even though it isn't on the rapid rate of increased employment that we'd like to see, it's certainly the bleeding is stabilized, and there is. Past the automotive side of it, Detroit has got a lot of new technologies that are expanding. You know, Roush Industries in particular has got the life sciences area where we make some tools for the pharmaceutical industry, and there's all over town. There's robotics. There's high-tech things that are outside the normal, what you'd normally consider the trades of the automobile industry, that are employing people and bode well for Detroit's, and for that matter, broader Michigan's future. So I'm really excited about all that. As far as Felix Sabates and the comments he made 6 months or a year ago, whenever it was, he made the comments, the derogatory comments about Detroit and about the MIS racetrack. I'd hope that he was a little too much in the spirits that day, and that he'd said things that he regretted. He hasn't indicated to me that he regretted saying those things, but certainly I think that under any circumstance they're ill-advised. I don't know what prompted him or caused him to make those statements, but I doubt that Felix feels that as he indicated about MIS or Detroit, either or Michigan or Detroit, either one. But you know, there's MIS. I think has been one of the best racetracks, certainly in the north central part of the United States here, and I think it deserves two races. Don't have a bigger problem selling tickets than we have any place else in our troubled economy, and it's certainly a place that I enjoy racing because it's where I call home.
Thank you, Jack.
Our next question comes from Dave Cowman from the Milwaukee Journal. Sir, you may ask your question.
Thank you. Jack, you're in this stretch of schedule with Cup and Nationwide races that need a little travel for your double duty, for double duty purposes. I know you had some success doing that, but I don't know if you've ever had to give up a whole day at a Cup track like you will next weekend. Can you kind of describe the logistics of Sonoma, Elkhart Lake, and then also what you give up with Carl because of at each because of the travel and the schedules?
Well, first of all, I won't give up a whole day at the Cup track. At Sonoma, where the schedule is Sonoma to Elkhart Lake this year, Carl will make that. I understand that Paul Menard's father's Citation 10 is going to be used, which is the fastest means of public civilian transportation that's possible. So they're going to make that trip together. I'll hunker down in Sears Point and help the guys there as much as I can. But you know, weekends like we had last weekend, where the drivers can physically participate in major part of both programs. If I am close enough, and if my Premier Hawker Beechcraft Premier is fast enough, I'm anxious to pilot it and be in both places where I can, as I did on Saturday night. But I was ready to go to Nashville. I was ready to go on Friday if I could have talked the drivers into it, but they thought that they needed to stay in Pocono and prepare themselves for the Cup race on Friday, and not lose 2 nights of sleep, a full night's sleep before they'd have the Sprint Cup race on Sunday at Pocono. So they made a good decision. We would have made the trip if it suited their purpose, and the result was certainly a good one.
What do you give up at each racetrack? I mean, you're going to give up what Saturday at Sonoma and Friday at Elkhart Lake. I mean, what do you give up by Carl not being there?
Well, you know, Carl will do what he can. He'll miss not all of practice on Saturday, but some of it. My recollection is, and I haven't looked at the 2 schedules. I did look at it a couple of weeks ago, and I've forgotten exactly what I saw. But my recollection is that he'll give up happy hour, but he'll get the morning practice at Sonoma. And if they arrive with a car that is set up ideally, and the road racing is different than the normal 1.5 miles in the short tracks that we've got on the schedule. You can road race. You can practice at VIR in Virginia, and you can practice at Road Atlanta near Atlanta in Georgia. And we've been to both places with our cars in preparation for going to Sears Point, and I think that we'll be in better shape than we would be at a normal 1.5 mile track, given the fact that nobody else has had a chance to practice at Sears Point, and everybody has taken relatively new cars that they've tested other places other than Sears Point. So I don't think the result may be that the amount of qualifying practice that's done in Friday will probably be less for Carl than his focus on the race setup. So he may wind up not making qualifying attempts on Saturday, and that may impact his qualifying time a little bit. But certainly I think that we'll not have a serious handicap we'll have to overcome. I'm really excited about our road race cars. I think our Ford Fusions are going to be very competitive. They tested well at Road Atlanta for the most recent test, and I can't wait to get to Sears Point, and I think Carl will make a good effort to win the race in spite of his double duty.
Thanks a lot.